Welcome to my channel. In this bookbinding series, we've learned how to fold paper into signatures, stitching the signatures together and gluing it into a copy block. Now we're going to do the exciting part of making a beautiful cover for your copy block and turn it into a real case-bound book. Shall we start? I measure the copy block down to the millimeters. I measure the front and back cover, which is the same, and then I measure the size of the spine. I will attach the formula to calculate the size of the cover in the description below. This needs to be very accurate so that we can cut the grey card for the cover precisely, and when we make the case-bound book, it will fit nicely around our copy block. When I finish trimming, I always like to lie them on the table side by side so I can see them all together. It's very satisfying. I'm going to cut the fabric that I'm going to use to cover the spine and one side of the cover. I then apply glue to the spine first, spread it out nicely, press it into the fabric that I'm going to use for the spine, and then apply glue all over the front cover or the back cover. I can't actually quite remember. Spread it evenly and then press it against the fabric as well. Take care not to stretch the fabric, as this will warp the print on the fabric and distort how it looks. Press it nicely instead and spread the glue evenly. Flip your cover and check on the reverse side to make sure that everything is nice and smooth, and then you can glue the other side of the cover onto the remainder bit of the fabric. Try to take care and not to get glue everywhere all over the table, as this might make your cover a little bit dirty and messy. I then take a scissors and trim off the excess bit of fabric around the cover. I trim off the corners as well to eliminate excess fabric gathering around this area. Then I apply glue and spread it out evenly with a brush and fold the fabric over the grey card to make sure that it covers it well and smooth it over with my hand. Take care at this stage, fold over the grey card firmly, but try not to stretch the fabric too much again because it could make it quite messy. Press it down and make sure it's all nice and smooth. Check on the reverse side again. When you fold over the foredge side of the cover, make sure you do it as neatly as possible. Try to avoid ugly creases. Take special care around the corners. Make sure it's all nice and flat and remove any fluff or bits of thread hanging off like hair. Then I'll move on to the other side of the cover. I think this is the front cover. I picked a simple brown paper as the front cover so that I could write on it at a later stage. The brown paper expands with the moisture from the glue, so take very special care when you press this down to avoid creases. This can easily occur as the brown paper is so thin, and then you need to trim off the corners again. Apply glue all over and fold it over the grey card. Be very careful, see how I tear that little bit off. Luckily you won't see this after the copy block is glued on. Flip the book over, check on the reverse side and make sure it's nice and flat. Now I will apply glue to the copy block. I put a spare piece of paper in between the first page and the rest of the copy block. This is to prevent glue from seeping onto the rest of the book from the first page. I then spread the glue out with a brush. I spread outwards instead of inwards so that the glue doesn't accidentally get onto the other side of the first page. I then attach the cover to the copy block. Take special care when it gets close to the spine. Make sure it's glued nicely on. You do this one side at a time and you will do the same on the other side now. A little bit of gap on either side of the card of the spine that's only covered by fabric without card will ensure that your book opens with ease. So here I'm folding strips of paper to put on either side of the spine where only fabric covers when I put the book into the book press to dry. This will ensure the fabric on either side of the spine glues firmly onto the copy block whilst the cover is drying in the book press. There's a better view of it here. You can see it through the gaps of the book press. I'm going to leave it to dry in the book press overnight. In the next step, I'm going to show you my love for Coca-Cola. Here I'm going to use this used carton to make the second cover for my copy block. This cover is not going to be case bound. but it will protect your book nonetheless. When you have a nice piece of heavyweight paper or card that you would like to use for your cover, this is a good way to utilize that. Make sure that it's large enough to cover both front, back, and the spine of the book. But like the case bound, we will not glue the spine onto the copy block. We will only glue the front and back cover to allow maximum freedom of movement around the spine to allow the book to open and close. Here I'm giving 2 extra folds on either side of the spine. This is where we'll apply the glue up to when we're gluing the front and back cover, whilst leaving the spine completely glue free. And trim off the excess bit of the card from both the tail and the head of the book. Take care when you do this. Try not to trim off too much. If it's slightly wider than the book, then it's okay because the excess bit will protect the paper. But if you trim too much, it will not be big enough to cover the pages. You could also use 2 smaller pieces of card to patch a cover, providing the joint does not impair the integrity of the spine. And then we will apply glue on the first and the last page of the copy block. Take special care so that the glue doesn't get anywhere else other than the front and the very last page. Spread it out evenly. Take your time when doing this as well so that you don't panic and accidentally get glue everywhere. You could always put a spare sheet of paper in between to prevent it from happening. And attach the front and back cover onto the glued first and last page. Again, take care when you do this and press firmly to make sure the copy block is firmly attached to the front and back cover, but never the spine so that your book opens. Slot in a couple of spare sheets of paper to absorb moisture. I always do this so that your cover dries nice and smooth and your copy block is not affected by the moisture from the glue. Making the cover with just card is much easier than doing a case-bound book, but case-bound book is obviously much nicer to hold, so it depends on whether you have plenty of time or you feel in a hurry, but both way works very well, and you can get really creative with the cover of your choice. I put the case-bound book into the book press to dry, whilst leaving this one out. So if you don't have a book press, what you can do is put the bound book under some heavy weight, like a chair or a block of books, to weigh it down so that it dries nice and flat. Here I'm putting an extra sheet of paper to absorb moisture and flattening the cover so that the glue can dry smooth. Moment of truth, so exciting. Let's open it and have a look. So I take the case bound out of the book press and the other one from under a chair. They both look fantastic. So here's my book finished. I have the matching dress to go with it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please subscribe and hopefully we could start filling the sketchbook together in the future. Bye bye.